Good morning to my brother Richard. It's been a while. As you indicated, even though I've been outside the country for some time, I was monitoring the processes leading up to the MPP's flag bearership contest, and in fact the contest itself. And Doc, contrary to what my good brother Richard would have us believe, the outcome of their flag bearership race was very, very embarrassing for Alhaji Bawumia. It was very humiliating. Look, it was very clear right from the get-go that Alhaji Bawumia was the establishment candidate in the race. He had the support of the president. He had the support of the presidency. He had the full government machinery behind him. Over 90% of ministers and deputy ministers were all whipped in line to support him. Over 90% of MPP members of parliament were whipped in line to support him. MMDCs were whipped in line to support him. So he had the support of everybody who matters in the ruling New Patriotic Party. Not just that, he also had the biggest war chest among all the candidates. He had the biggest war chest. He paid the biggest bribes. During their super delegates conference, we are told that some delegates were paid close to 50,000 Ghana cedis, 20,000 Ghana cedis, in some cases 100,000 Ghana cedis per delegate. And in the just ended primaries, which was for a larger group and a larger electoral college, the minimum any delegate got, minimum, was 400 Ghana cedis from Alhaji Bawumia. In some cases, up north, we are told that some had 1,000 Ghana cedis, 1,200 Ghana cedis. So apart from being the favorite of the establishment, he was also the most resourced. And in fact, among all of them, he is the one who has gotten the opportunity to be the closest to the presidency, having served as vice president for 7 years. And what was his score? What was the votes he got? A paltry 61.4%. This is after the unprecedented vote buying. This is after the support he enjoyed from the government machinery and the establishment. This is after he even made personal surprise calls to delegates. Look, this is an embarrassment of monumental proportions. That nearly 40% of leaders, these delegates we are talking about are leaders in the New Patriotic Party, will reject Bawumia and pass a vote of no confidence in him. It is totally humiliating, totally shameful that nearly 40% of leaders in the MPP, from the polling station level through the constituency, regional, all the way to the national level, will say that even though we've known Alhaji Bawumia for well over 15 years, even though he's been our vice president for 7 years, we don't think that this man is fit to be president. And therefore, we are passing a vote of no confidence in him. If I was Alhaji Bawumia, I would have stepped aside from this 2024 election as MPP flag bearer. Because clearly, Doc, if the very leaders who are supposed to go and market you out there are almost divided in the middle against you, almost 40% of them don't even believe. 40% of the leaders in your own party don't even believe that you are fit to be president. You have no business contesting to be president. You have no business. If I were a military commander leading troops to the battlefield, and nearly 40% of the troops did not believe in my leadership, I will not dare lead them to that battlefield because I know I will not come back. That is the fate that has befallen Dr. Bawumia. Very embarrassing. Look, before the election, his campaign team was so confident of a landslide victory. The chairman, who is a good friend of mine, Sammy, came out publicly to say that any poll that gives Dr. Bawumia less than 75% of the votes. Any poll that gives Dr. Bawumia less than 75% of votes is not a serious poll. The majority leader said that he would be surprised if Dr. Bawumia's main contender, Kennedy Ohinejapon, even gets 20%. So they were expecting a landslide victory of 75%, 80% and beyond, because they knew the money they had spent. They knew how they had whipped everybody in line to support him. But you see, if your commodity is bad, it is bad. There is nothing you can do about it. So today, Sammy Wuku, Arno Dompre, or Seche Mensabuso, and all those people who place their credibility on the line, thinking that Dr. Bawumia was going to win landslide, they are hiding in their rat holes because they are all ashamed by these results. And look, you see, we are talking about Dr. Bawumia's main contender, Kennedy Gyamfi, a man who, until recently, has said on public record that he had no interest in becoming the president of Ghana. He has said so over and over again. In fact, he only decided to contest for the NPP flag bearership a few months ago. I'm not sure he even campaigned for more than 6 or 8 months. And yet he managed to get a whopping 37%. He beat Dr. Bawumia at the regional level in 2 regions. In the central region, he completely decimated Dr. Bawumia. You can understand that because Kennedy Gyamfi is from the central region. But look, in the voter region where Kennedy Gyamfi doesn't hail to, he defeated Dr. Bawumia. In the voter region. Richard Ahiagbe's region. Come on. One whole region, voter region, completely decimated. Completely annihilated. No.
Richard went to bed.
Then you go to up north, the northern regions, where yes, Dr. Bawumia comes from. The northern regions, up north. And Kennedy Gyamfi was whipping Bawumia in northern Ghana.
Oh, how?
Oh, don't you know? Binduri, Upper East.
Okay, you mean in some...
Yes, exactly. A whole constituency. A whole constituency. Binduri constituency. Dr. Bawumia was totally decimated. In Zibila, Dr. Bawumia totally decimated. Master, this is shameful. And no amount of PR gimmicks can make this embarrassment look good. At the constituency level, Dr. Bawumia was decimated and rejected by delegates in more than 50 constituencies. 50 constituencies. I mean, this is a shame. Given the money he spent, given the kind of people who supported him in this election, all the manipulations and so on. You see, Doc, for me, the takeaways are very, very straightforward. And it is that, number one, Dr. Bawumia has made history. When you hear leaders of the New Patriotic Party saying that his election is historic, it is true. Because it is historic for the reason that since the NPP expanded their electoral college in 2010 and decided to include polling station executives in the election of their flag bearers in 2010, Dr. Bawumia is the first flag bearer who has not crossed 62%. First flag bearer elected by the NPP who has not even attained 62%. Because in 2010, candidate Akufo-Addo got 78.8% of the votes. In 2014, he got 94% and over of the votes in their primaries. That is how popular candidate Akufo-Addo, hate him or like him, but that is how popular he was in the NPP. I've seen some of them compare his results to Dubois' election and Kufuor's election and all that. But you see, you must compare like with like. You don't compare oranges with apples. The electoral college that elected Dubois and Kufuor are not the same as what elected Bawumia. Because during those days, only a few people in the NPP elected a flag bearer. Just constituency executives, regional, national executives, a few appointees here and there. Here we are talking about the expanded electoral college, which took effect in 2010. If you want to test the popularity of a candidate in a party, that is a better barometer. Because here you're talking about polling station executives. So that is the first takeaway. The first flag bearer since 2010 when the MPP expanded the electoral college, not to have attained even 62% of the votes. Such a big shame. The second takeaway is that, you see, when our friends in the MPP try to embellish this embarrassment and make Dr. Bawumia look good, they say that, oh, you know what, Kufuor, when he first contested, he got 56 point, Aduboahene got 56 point something percent. Kufuor got 51.9%. So Dr. Bawumia is a first timer flag bearer aspirant who has gotten the kind of votes he has gotten. But don't forget that no first timer flag bearer of the MPP has ever been elected as president. No first timer. No first timer. Since the inception of this Fourth Republic, the MPP has produced two presidents. President Kufuor, who won at his second attempt in 2000, having lost in 1996, and President Akufo-Addo, who won at his third attempt, having lost 2008 and 2012. So when you say that, oh, he's the best aspirant to, the first timer flag bearer aspirant to have gotten 61.4%, you are not helping him. More importantly, I have checked the historical records, both in the MPP and in the NDC, relative to flag bearer context. And okay, it is instructive to note that anytime a person, a candidate, a flag bearer of these two major political parties has won an election in Ghana, that flag bearer has had landslide support, resounding support in his own political party. Rawlings in 92 and 1996 was acclaimed in the NDC. He had more than 99% of support from his own political party. President Kufuor, yes, on his first attempt got 51.9%, but he lost. He lost when he had 51.9% because he didn't have significant numbers in his own political party to support and market him. But before he could win the 2000 election, he got approximately 65% of the votes. 64.6, so approximately 65% of the votes. Then came Atamels. Before Atamels won to be president in 2008, he had gotten 81.4% of the votes in the MPP, in the NDC's 2006 primaries. 81.4%. President Mahama was acclaimed. You understand? Before he was elected in 2012, he had more than 99% of support in the NDC and so on and so forth. So this is not good for Dr. Bawumia and the MPP. And you can see from how the confidence of our friends in the MPP has been dampened by his election. Everywhere you go, they are quiet. Some of them have been inboxing us secretly that, hey, Charlie, congratulations, because as for this commodity, we can't market it. All of them. They know that this is bad for them, So, very, very embarrassing. But look, this is not to say that we in the NDC are going to be complacent about the 2024 election. Not at all. Make no mistake about it. We are not going to be complacent at all. Even though we are going into the election with the weakest opponent we have ever had since 1992. We are not going to be complacent because this election is an election like none other. This election is not a mere election. The upcoming 2024 election is not a mere election. It's a battle for the soul of Ghana. It's a battle to rescue our country from the clutches of the nation-wrecking Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. A battle to rescue our country from the clutches of the insensitive, inept, corrupt, and nepotistic Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. We cannot afford to falter. We cannot afford to fail. We cannot afford to let Ghanaians and future generations down. And that is why we are going to run the most intense, the most vigorous campaign we have ever run as a political party to win 2024 and win it resoundingly so that the forces against the state will not be second time or third time lucky in stealing the mandate of the people. And I am confident, you see, I have no doubt in my mind that John Dramani Mahama, the nation builder, will emerge victorious, and Dr. Bawumia having been rejected by nearly 40% of leaders in his own political party, would this time around be rejected by an overwhelming majority of the Ghanaian electorate? And Doc, I say so for three main reasons. You see, contrary to the things that Richard was talking about, you know, we need somebody who has the capacity to embrace all people. Who told you that that is what the Ghanaian electorate is interested in? And if it's about inclusivity and embracing all people, what does Dr. Bawumia have? What has he done to show that he has that capacity or that competence or that virtue? So these are red herrings. The key factors that the Ghanaian electorate, you can do your research, will be considering going into the 2024 election. It's not where somebody comes from. So this issue of 2024 being a battle of the North, they should stop disturbing our ears. It's not about where you come from. It's not about your religion. It's about whether the electorate can trust you. Number one, trust. Your integrity as a candidate. Your credibility as a person. Can people take your word? Can people believe in you? That is the most important thing on the minds of Ghanaian voters today. Whether you check voter sentiments on social media, on the ground, through any poll, you will see that trust is the most important issue. And I have no doubt in my mind that Dr. Bawumia cannot pass that test of trust. Doc, because this is a man who has proven time and again to be a pathological liar. A man who cannot simply speak the truth. We are talking about a man who told the people of Cape Coast in the run-up to the 2020 elections that, hey, people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building for you, not we will build, we are building for you a brand new harbor. Look, you see, when I say he's a pathological liar, I'm not talking about manifesto promises that he has not been able to fulfill. I'm talking about things he has said as truth, which were in fact false. And that is what makes him a liar. When you say you are building a harbor, when at the time you made that statement, not a block had been laid anywhere in Cape Coast for any harbor. And even after the election, when your boss, the president, went to the central region and he was asked, how far with the harbor you said you were building for? He said, I don't remember making any such promise. Then they reminded him, but your vice president told us during your manifesto launch in Cape Coast that you were building as a harbor. He said, I don't know anything about it. That is the man we are talking about. A man, you see, you trust Bawumia at your own peril. If you are a person who can lie like that, then you are not even fit to be class captain. It was a wise man called Tracy Bryan who said that the relationship that holds, the glue that holds all relationships together, including the relationship between the leader and the led, is trust. And trust is based on integrity. So if you cannot be trusted, you have no business getting near leadership. This is the same man, Doc, who told us that the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government has been paying $1 billion annually for excess capacity charges. And that as of 2022, last year, they had paid 17 billion cedis. When the finance minister was summoned before parliament and asked about this, that this is what the vice president has said, is it true or false? Ken Oforiatta said it was false. He couldn't justify the figures. He said, as at that time, all we had spent, the total of it was $937 million, less than $1 billion on excess capacity. Less than $1 billion. Yet, Bawumia stood on a public platform addressing the entire nation and said, we've been paying $1 billion per annum. Such a chronic liar cannot be made to sit on the hallowed seat of President of Ghana. Never. This is the same man, Doc, who told Ghanaians that he has introduced a motor insurance database system for Ghana. And that this database system is the first of its kind in Africa. And in fact, better than the motor insurance database system of the United Kingdom. He was fact-checked, and it turned out to be a lie. Because 10 years before we got our motor insurance database system, countries like South Africa and Nigeria already had a motor insurance database system. It's there, you can go and check. He said he has introduced a Ghana Post GPS application, Dr. Bawumia, which he said that GPS application is the best in the world and more advanced than the GPS applications of UK and US. When that was a complete lie. You see, I can go on and on and on and tell you, not promises, oh, lies that this man has peddled. Doc, he said again, few years ago, that he has introduced mobile money interoperability that allows us to send money from one network to another network or Momo and move money from our bank accounts to our Momo wallets, and that this was the first time any African country would do that. At the time he was making that statement, Tanzania was already implementing one. And they got that system, the Momo interoperability system, 10 years before ours. Kenya got years before ours. Yet Bawumia peddled this lie. And even with the promises, you see, sometimes when you talk about the fact that he's a liar, they say, oh, you're talking about manifesto promises. These are not manifesto promises. They say, oh, with manifesto promises, no political party has been able to fulfill 100% of their manifesto promises. So are all politicians liars? No. There are some of the things Dr. Bawumia said, using his background as an economist, you know, to buttress him and to hoodwink voters into voting for the NPP, which were not even in the manifesto of the NPP. For example, Dr. Bawumia stood on a platform and said, in 18 months of an NPP government, no community in Ghana will have a water or a toilet problem. That was not the manifesto promise. But that was a promise Bawumia made. No honest politician will make such a promise. Because he should know that such a promise cannot be met given our economic situation as a country. But Bawumia said it. Bawumia stood on a platform and said, as a country, we don't have to borrow for roads. All we need to do is to tow our roads, and we'll be able to raise sufficient money to do all the roads in Ghana. No honest leader, no honest person, no person with a modicum of integrity will make such a promise. But Bawumia made that promise and managed to hoodwink some people in voting for him. The same Bawumia said, apart from he saying that we don't need to borrow for roads, he said that Ghana, where we have gotten to, we don't need asphalt roads again. We need concrete roads. And so the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government will henceforth, that was sometime in 2020, construct concrete roads in Ghana. Show me 1 meter, 1 centimeter, or 1 millimeter of road anywhere that this government has constructed in concrete. The one at Tema was done by a private company. They can't point to that. That is the man we are talking about. Lies upon lies. Oh, vote for us. We will move Ghana from taxation to production. All these things were things that Bawumia said, which were not necessarily manifesto promises. But if he was honest, he would have known that given our economic context as a country, you cannot develop Ghana without taxes. Yet he said, we will move Ghana from taxation to production. Oh, we have arrested the dollar and given the keys to the IGP when he knew that was false. And so on and so forth. He's a flip-flopper who will say in one vein that if the fundamentals of the economy are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Then he comes to office, the exchange rate depreciates like never before. At the time, the dollar was trading around 15 Ghana cedis. He says, oh yes, the exchange rate is depreciating, but it is not because the fundamentals are weak. A clear flip-flopper, a pathological liar you cannot trust. So he cannot pass this test. The second test, Doc, is the test of competence and track record. Because currently, Ghana is in a total mess. People are suffering. The hardship, Doc, is real. And people are yearning for a leader who has the competence and the track record to be able to turn around the economy and bring us out of this mess. People want jobs. People want economic development. People want to see infrastructure. They want their road fixed. So they need somebody who has done it before and somebody who has that capacity. Now, Doc, tell me, how can Richard and his communication team convince anybody in Ghana that Dr. Bawumia has the competence and the track record to turn this economy around? After all the things he said in opposition, how he was lyrical about the economy, how he was projected as the economic messiah and whiskey Ghana needed. And after being made vice president, and for that matter, the chairman of the economic management team for 7 years, what is his scorecard? In 2017, Doc, we gave Dr. Bawumia our economy to manage. At the time, he said inflation was too high. He used to hold lectures, comparing the prices of basic commodities at Makola market. You remember? Malata market. Forgive me, Malata market. You know, and he used to calculate his own inflation just to undermine inflation figures being put up by the Ghana Statistical Service at the time. Today, what is the inflation rate? John Mahama gave him an economy with an inflation rate of 15.4%. He said it was too high and that John Mahama was incompetent. Today, as at last year, inflation 54%. As we speak, 38%. So if 15.4% was a mark of incompetence, what about 38% or 54%? And because of this high inflation, which has come about as a result of the illegal and excessive printing of money by the Bank of Ghana to finance their recklessness, the World Bank says 850,000 Ghanaians have been pushed down the poverty line. This is the doing of Dr. Bawumia. And this is the man they are projecting as competent. The economy, the same economy, doc. Check our debts.
Are you wrapping up for me?
Oh, I'll be wrapping up. Yes. I'll be wrapping up. Check the debts. This is the man who said the money is here. He's worked at Bank of Ghana before. We don't have to borrow. The money is here. At the time he was talking, Ghana's total public debt was less than 120 billion. He's come to office. He's been chairman of the economic management team. His government is the most resourced government in the history of Ghana. They've had revenue from 3 oil fields, when John Mahama's government had revenue from 1 oil field. In total, they've had 830 billion as total revenue, when the Mahama NDC government only had 248 billion. Yet, they have so borrowed that our public debt has increased from 120 billion to 600 billion. Debt to GDP, 56% under John Mahama. Now, close to 100% under Bawumia. Debt service and credit, you can't talk about it. Our economy, which was rated as B- by credit rating agencies, under President Mahama, B-, and President Mahama was berated and called names by Bawumia. Today, that economy is rated junk, baller economy. Unemployment rate, it was Bawumia who said, vote for us when we come, the economy will grow and grow and grow, and there will be jobs and jobs and jobs. Today, what is the unemployment rate? From 8.4% in 2016, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. Unemployment rate in Ghana today is hovering around 14%. So, if you look at the economy we bequeathed to him, we handed over to him, and entrusted him to manage for us, he has failed woefully. His record is the most abysmal in the history of this country. He's had so much resources, yet very little to show in terms of economic performance. What again is there to market this person? And lastly, Doc, I'll do this in just 2 minutes. Lastly, because this is a very important test that we must subject all the presidential candidates to. The test of incorruptibility. Which of the candidates will be presented with in this upcoming 2024 election is incorruptible and has the capacity to fight corruption? It cannot be Bawumia. Doc, do you know something? Since Ghana became Ghana, do you know the biggest corruption scandal we have suffered? I say it's the biggest because it is the corruption scandal that has occasioned the biggest financial loss to Ghana. That corruption scandal is what is known as the PDS scandal. According to the Institute of Economic Affairs, the PDS scandal cost this nation financial loss of $2 billion. $2 billion. Anybody watching me can Google it. And who masterminded this corruption scandal? Alhaji Bawumia. He was the one who, according to the FTI report on the PDS scandal, on 19 February 2019, chaired a meeting at the Jubilee House and decided to change a condition precedent into a condition subsequent, the requirement of a bank guarantee, and watered it down into an insurance guarantee, and allowed a phony company of fraudsters to come and defraud this country. We lost $2 billion as a result of that. And as I speak, the electricity bills we pay to that fraudulent company, fraudulent in quotes, at least according to the then Minister for Energy, Peter Mewu, the company, over $1.5 billion, has refused to, pay that money back to the states. As I talk to you now, Richard can prove me wrong. Do you know that the office administrator of Dr. Bawumia is being prosecuted by the special prosecutor? A man called Keko said, do you know that? Doc, do you know that? Do you know why he's being prosecuted? He's being prosecuted because he used Dr. Bawomia's letterhead, office administrator, wrote a letter to the Commissioner General of Customs for 10,000 bags of rice belonging to a businessman to be released to Bawumia for Ramadan donations. Ramadan donations. And when he was caught pants down, the Vice President office issued a statement that, oh, even though he's the administrator in our office, and wrote that letter on our letterhead, Bawumia didn't know anything about it. Yet, the man is a Christian, and the rice was supposed to be used for Ramadan donations. And you know the scandalous thing about this scandal, the most scandalous thing, is that the gentleman Kekose, currently being prosecuted by the special prosecutor for his attempt to steal 10,000 bags of rice for Bawumia, ostensibly for Ramadan donations, is still working with Bawumia in his office as the administrator. He's still working there. He's not even had the courage to sack him.
Right.
Whether it is any way you look at it, this man clearly is not fit to be president. And look, I have no doubt in my mind, like I said, that people will look at his competence and his track record and juxtapose that with the other candidates. They will look at his trustworthiness. They will look at the various corruption scandals he's been involved in, appearance fee, how a Minister of State was caught on tape soliciting for bribes, $250,000 for Bawumia. And the minister didn't say, give me the money to go and give to Bawumia, so that you can say that the minister was going to chop the money. He said, I'm taking you to Bawumia. When we go, give him $250,000. Because he knows that the man is in the habit of taking appearance fees.
All right.
Doc, Ghanaians will not make a mistake again. Okay. They know that what we need is change. Kennedy Japan and other leading members of the MPP, Kwame Pienim, Nyawuta Makro, they've all said it. We need change. Ghanaians are united in that demand for change. And this is not an ordinary change we need. We need to reset the country, reset state institutions, reset the entire country, the moral fiber of our country, which they have corrupted. And the only person who can do that is a visionary, honest, experienced leader we can trust, a leader who is tried and tested, a leader who takes responsibility for problems and fixes those problems. That leader cannot be Bawumia. That leader is none other than the visionary nation builder, John Mahama, who has promised us a 24-hour economy with 3 shifts to optimize job creation for the good people of this country. That is the leader we need, not this pathological liar who
Richard,
cannot be trusted by
take a break. When we return,
you have the power. You just make it 15. I just need half the time. 15.
I wanted to respond to Sammy.
No, we'll just take a break. And then when we return, we'll just do one more round. You speak to our opinion. Or it will affect your tempo.
I think
but we are not.
You've been relaxed. We'll back shortly.
And you see, when we talk about it, we should not pretend as though we are more wiser than all the people watching us or knowledgeable than them. We are here by virtue of privilege. And so when we are speaking to our viewers, we have to credit them with some intelligence. Richard sat here and said that everything I said in my submission about Alhaji Bawumia is not Alhaji Bawumia. Really? Do you really respect our viewers? Doc, so who stood at Cape Coast and said, people of Cape Coast, I have good news for you. We are building for you a new harbor in Cape Coast. Was that Randy Abe or Sammy Gyamfi, or it was Richard Ahiagbe's brother or dog? Who said that? Who told the people of Ghana that we've paid 17 billion for excess capacity, when, according to the finance minister, the figure is even less than $1 billion, $937 million, equivalent to just about 5 billion cedis? Tell me all the things I said. Tell me one thing which is a lie. One thing which is a lie. Dr. Bawumia didn't say that he has introduced a motor insurance database system which is more advanced than that of UK and the first of its kind in Africa. You don't know that as MPP Communications Director. You don't know that. And you don't know that that is a lie. And that South Africa and Nigeria got theirs 10 years before we got ours. You were not in this country when Dr. Bawumia said he has introduced mobile money interoperability. And that is the first of its kind in Africa. You were not here. You don't know this as MPP Communications Director. And you are saying this is not Bawumia. So it is who? It is your grandmother's dog. It is who?
It's a figment of your imagination.
He said all this. These are matters of public record.
It's not true, Sammy.
So when you come and sit on public platforms like this and you lie like this, you're only making a mockery of yourself.
It's not
Who
true.
said that we don't have to borrow for roads? We only have to tow our roads and we'll be able to raise money to build roads in Ghana? Who said that he was coming to construct concrete roads? Who said that? Who said that within 18 months of an MPP government, no community will have a water or toilet problem? So, when we are talking about the fact that Dr. Bawumia is bereft of credibility and integrity, it is a fact. He is a pathological liar because time and again he's peddled lie after lie. And there is not a single thing I have said that you can prove with facts to be untrue. Not a single thing I've said.
When you finish.
Number two, he says that Dr. Bawumia is a competent individual. Okay, what has he done for Ghana with his competence in terms of the economy, his primary responsibility?
I just told you.
Inflation moving from 15.4% to 54% as of December last year and 38% as of now is a competence. Debt to GDP moving from 56% to over 100% as of December last year, and we defaulted on our debt obligations for the first time in 4 decades is the competence. Please, when you were talking, I didn't interject.
We are asking me.
No. Let me make my point. Let me make my point.
They are rhetorical.
Then he says, yes. Alhaji Bawumia is an accomplished individual. What has he accomplished for the economy? What? Apart from his reckless mismanagement of the economy, which has rendered Ghana bankrupt today, that we have for the first time in 40 years, defaulted on our debt obligations. We've given government creditors, people who have lent to government, crude financial haircuts. Apart from that, what has he accomplished for Ghana? Then he says, oh, Dr. Bawumia is a real human being. So as for us, we are artificial human beings. All these rhetorics will not sway anybody into voting for you again. Look, he says that Dr. Bawumia only needed 50% plus 1. We know that. But when we are talking about the fact that nearly 40% of leaders in your party have rejected him, we are not saying that he didn't get 50% plus 1. That is not the point. You are missing the point. We are saying that he is very unpopular in his own political party. And that popularity in your party matters. And that in the history of this country, anybody who has won your flag bearership contest and has gone on to win a major election has won not less than 65% of the votes in your primaries. And if you look at the NDC, the same thing. Minimum 81.4% at Amels. That popularity matters. Then he talks about, Bajo Mama in 2016 lost by 1 million votes. How on earth will any analyst worth his salt compare a discussion about the performance of a certain candidate in an internal party primary to a general election? What kind of voodoo analysis is this?
You are so funny.
And look, he says that, if it is about the economy, it is the NDC that is incompetent. Oh, really? With our incompetence, the unemployment rate was 8.4%. With your competence, it is 14%. With our incompetence, we could service our public debts. We could pay interest and principal.
Yes, because
our economy was rated B-. With your competence, our economy is rated junk, baller economy. We can't even pay our debts.
From 14%.
Then he now rehash their convenient excuse of Russian-Ukraine war and COVID-19. Look, let's settle this matter once and for all. Before COVID, if anybody tells you that Bawumia and the MPP managed Ghana's economy well and that our economy was doing well, it's a lie. The only time we recorded positive economic, performance under this government was in 2017 when we grew by 8.1%. But look, months before that, the IMF had already predicted that Ghana was going to grow 7.5% to 8%. You don't have time. Else I would have read it to you. This is a story dated December 13, 2016. IMF projects Ghana's economy to grow 7.5% in 2017, when you had not even took office. Why were they projecting this high growth? You read the story, they will tell you. They said they were projecting this. Let me just read it to you. The International Monetary Fund projects that Ghana's economy will grow 7.5% in 2017 as the Cheneboa, Enyina, Intome 10 oil fields begin full production. So it was on the back of oil. The 2 additional oil fields, 10 and Sankofa, which President Mahama bequeathed to you, you knew next to nothing about that. So if you inherit 2 new oil fields, you will achieve growth. It doesn't mean you are a good manager of the economy. Because even before you came, the work had been done and the projections already made, not just by the government in this budget, but by the IMF, by the EIU, and so on. Number 2, those temporary positive economic performance we saw 2017-2018, you know the reason why we saw that. Apart from the oil, which was the handiwork of President Mahama. You know why? The IMF. John Mahama, in his wisdom, in 2015, signed up to an IMF program, which they berated him for. And that program was supposed to last for 3 years. It was supposed to end by April 2018. So 2017, when they took office, we were under an IMF program. 2018 IMF program. In fact, when the program was supposed to end, they realized that they cannot do without the program. So they extended the program for 1 more year.
That's not true.
The IMF program, which was supposed to terminate in April 2018, was extended to 2019. You don't know this. Yeah. Don't expose your ignorance. For 1 year. Let me make my point. So if it was bad, yet you go kwa edinima. Oh, no. You are a Muslim. You don't drink, you don't eat pork meat, but you drink pork soup. You said the program was bad. Why will you extend a bad program? Let me make my point. I don't have time. Let me make my point. So all those things you're talking about was because of an IMF program. When the IMF left by April 2019, the mismanagement started. Because the headmaster was not there. And that is why in 2018, even before the IMF will leave, they have started spending recklessly. They recorded a budget deficit of 7.5%. When by law, by the Fiscal Responsibility Act, they are committed not to exceed fiscal deficit of 5%. They did 7.5% in 2018. Look, in 2019, after the IMF left, how did we perform? This was before COVID-19. Debt to GDP had moved from 56% to 63%, minus below the line items. You add below the line items what they were hiding from the people of this country, you get debt to GDP of close to 70%.
That was for
before
the
COVID.
Banking sector.
Before COVID, our debt service had increased from 11 billion to 37 billion cedis, constituting 91% of our tax revenue. Before COVID, you were already spending recklessly and budget deficit across 7.5%.
No.
Before COVID, I read to you, Doc, paragraph 61 of the 2020 mid-year budget. Paragraph 61. This is what the Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta said. In the year to December 2019, the Ghana cedi cumulatively depreciated by 12.9% against the US dollar, compared with 8.4% depreciation in 2018. Against the British pound and euro, the Ghana cedi cumulatively depreciated by 15.7% and 12.2% respectively, compared to 3.3% and 3.9% over the same period in 2018. So if you look at the exchange rates, which according to your failed economic messiah, now turned comical IT champion, Bawumia, is the most important barometer for assessing any economy. Because he says if the exchange rate is, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. The exchange rate was doing so bad in 2019. This is the worst of Kenneth Ofori-Atta.
Which is what?
The cedi depreciated by more than 40%. Let me make my point.
No. But you cannot.
So the cedi depreciated so much so. Maza, I didn't interject you. Let me make my point.
But you cannot be making incorrect.
The cedi depreciated better than what? In 2016, the cedi depreciated by 9.6%. You don't know. Stop advertising your ignorance.
Let me get
9.6%.
Please,
depreciating in 2016. I dare you.
Okay, no problem.
I dare you.
You carry on. I'll show it to you.
Stop making noise and allow me to make my point. You don't have your facts.
Just be fact.
9.6%. And 2019 before COVID, 14% depreciation, and you are blaming COVID. The city was so embarrassed that you constituted a 40-member foreign exchange committee to investigate the reasons for the depreciation of the city. Because you didn't have confidence in Bawumia, you didn't even add him to the committee. You didn't even add him. This was before COVID. Look, again, even after COVID struck, what was the impact of COVID-19 on our economy? We needed 12 billion for all the things, PPEs, free water, all the things we needed to do to fight COVID. And then we had a gap in revenue of 14 billion to fill because of COVID. But the Auditor General has told us that you got 22 billion because of COVID. And he even excluded the second $1 billion special drawing rights from the IMF. If you add everything, over 30 billion because of COVID. So if you needed only 12 billion to fight COVID, and COVID gave you 30 billion, you got 12 billion out of that to pay for all those things. Got 18 billion and you used 14 billion to fill your revenue gap, and got extra 4 billion left. How do you continue to blame COVID? When you got more than you needed to fight COVID and to plug the revenue shortfalls. How can you continue to blame COVID? This is excluding the COVID levy we pay till date. Check African countries surrounding us. Which of the countries have imposed a draconian COVID levy on their people? 1% COVID levy on NHIL. 1% COVID levy on VAT flat rate. We pay till date. So all the things you did, you are even levying us. We pay COVID levy and you continue to blame COVID. That is why Dr. Randy Abe told you, you see, some of these things is common sense. If COVID is the reason for our debt default, how come Togo, Burkina Faso, war-torn Burkina Faso, how come they have not defaulted on their debt obligations? How come none of them, including Cote d'Ivoire, have been declared as junk? How come? You people should show Ghanaians some respect. They lie with arrogance and confidence. So if you don't take care, they will deceive you. Because if you look at the facts, you cannot blame COVID. What COVID rather did for them is that it became an avenue for them to steal. Why? Their parliamentary candidate for Sagnerigu and vice chair for Northern Region, Felicia Tete, has told us that because of COVID, the money they got, which they were supposed to use to protect lives, they shared it among themselves like bull fruit. He said he got 100,000 cedis, 1 billion cedis. COVID money. Every constituency executive got 10,000 cedis. DC is 30,000 cedis. Chairman, 20,000. Felicia Tete. Go and read the Auditor General's report. What you use COVID money for? They used $250,000 to buy medical equipment. It never got to any health center. They chopped the money. They gave a contract, 14 billion cedis, to a company called Modern Securities Printers Limited to go and train our secondary school children on COVID-19 safety protocols, when teachers in those schools could have done that for free. According to the Auditor General, the job was not done. You spent over 15 million cedis on hot meals with no receipt to show for. 37.4 million cedis, equivalent to 374 billion. They said they used it for free water. When the Auditor General went to check, there was no water bill to support it. You use a pandemic as an avenue to steal, and then you turn around to blame COVID. Why? When COVID was in full flight, look at the recklessness you were engaging. Akufo-Addo, in only 12 months, used 34 million cedis, equivalent to 340 billion cedis, to charter private jets, which he was bathing in the skies. When COVID was in full force, were you living as though we were in crisis? So far, you spent $110 million on a so-called cathedral, which has turned out to be a useless pit in the middle of Accra. $110 million. In only 9 months, let me tell you, these people, they are so reckless that when COVID was at its peak, they went for one cabinet retreat at Peduase and spent 4.8 million cedis on one cabinet retreat. 48 billion. 6 March, Cape Coast, 2021, they spent 10.4 million cedis, 100.4 billion cedis on one event, 6 March. The problem is your recklessness. It's the thievery. It is not any COVID-19. 2020, the economy crashed, you said COVID-19. 2021, after you imposed COVID levy on us, the economy crashed, you said COVID-19. You brought e-levy, and you told us that once you bring e-levy, our problems will be solved. At the time, you remember when you complain about road projects, they say, oh, e-levy is coming. Your stomach is paining you, e-levy will come. After all that, 2022, you are blaming COVID. 2023, you are blaming COVID. So when will you stop making COVID the pimp boy for your recklessness?
Done 16 minutes instead of 10.
Why? And Doc, just to land. And let me land here. You spoke 30 minutes. Doc, 4 minutes. Doc, let me land here 30 minutes. Let me land, please. Let me land. If I don't do this, Doc, you are not used to a punchy break. It doesn't matter whether you start or end. You don't have your facts. Please, you don't have your facts. Doc, he asked me about John Mohammed's vision. You see, you people, you either have a reading problem or a comprehension problem. So you are not in this country, you have not heard John Mahama say that his vision is to stop the economic decline, stabilize the economy, transform the economy, and create jobs.
That's not a
You've not heard. You've not heard. It's what? By what? By what? What is Bawumia's vision? What is Bawumia's vision?
His vision
you
is
have to read from a paper.
Oh, yes,
what is vision?
His vision is to build an inclusive
grammar. Build inclusive. What is it? Doc,
let
me make my point.
You don't understand what policy is.
No. Oh, he has asked about policies. Let me end there. Oh, in 1 minute. Doc, it's not fair.
I want the policy vision of
Doc, this one is a policy break. You've done well. 1 minute. No, 1 minute. 1 minute. Oh, the policies.
He doesn't have it.
Because they keep on saying that, then we need to remind Ghanaians. No, 1 minute. 1 minute. Doc,
he doesn't have
John Mahama, in terms of our economy, what is his solution? To bring us out of this mess. He says through legislation he will put a cap on public debt accumulation. Number one.
Policy.
He says he is bringing back the sinking fund to help our debt repayments.
That is not policy.
He is putting a moratorium on non-concessional borrowing. He will run the leanest government with no more than 16 ministers.
That is not policy.
He is completing the review of the constitution.
That is not.
I don't have to educate you.
No.